Hello, my name is Alita Gonzalez Garcia, and this is my Socio-Cultural mini-teach presentation. So, a brief introduction, my name is Alita Gonzalez Garcia. I am from Austin, Texas, and this is my second year in Arizona State. So, the topic I decided to talk about for this presentation is on language. To be more specific, language barrier in education. So, what is language barrier in education? What it means is for a student whose first language is not spoken at school, and this may lead to them struggling to understand instructions or grasp onto concept in the classroom, and this may cause them to need extra time and support to complete tasks. Reason I wanted to go over this topic because I do have my own personal experience. My first language actually happens to be Spanish. I started learning English at the age of 7, and it was a bit of a struggle when it came to how it went through school, how it was doing any kind of homework, or even just connecting to my peers in that atmosphere. So this is a brief case study that I want to touch up in the presentation, and it's over Manuel Gomez. So for Manuel Gomez, he is at this point a 19-year-old boy who has recently graduated high school. He is the first high school graduate in his family. His family comes from South Africa, more in the Cape Verde area. And when he talks about the experience that he had in his school, he realizes what a rough time he had due to the culture and language barriers. It was very hard for him to keep up with all the schoolwork. He felt like he was falling behind on his academics, and he was not able to really have a connection with his peers due to the differences. And with his family being immigrants from another country, them utilizing their native language to learn on what their culture is and learning about any sort of topic, and having to utilize English as their single language just became a very conflicting notice whenever it came to his education. So a little bit brief about language discrimination history, because when it comes to language barrier, there happens to be a huge manner of discrimination. And looking back through history, we have seen, even today, what it means to speak a different language in the United States. I never really dove into this kind of part of history, but what I learned through the research for this presentation, the early history that I can find on language discrimination happens to be the English-only movement debate, which started in the 1880s, and in the beginning it was a little bit of brief, just what we were dealing with at the moment, for example, the Mexican-American War and the discrimination against people, well, mainly Latinos, when it came to whether they can speak a certain language in certain areas. And really what I kind of found a connection to when it comes to language discrimination is just the racism behind it, the assimilation, repression, and then it even became a conflicting notice for people whether they want to stick to the language they were raised with or even the language that they're made to learn in order to fit into our society. And even when you look at present day situations when it comes to language discrimination, we have seen it in many ways, whether it means through politics, more specific, the presidential election that many of us have noticed, and just overall social media. We have seen videos online about just conflicts that people have with other people, conflicts they have with one another, and just basically what we can see is that we have to bring a huge awareness to this because it is a serious topic to talk about. So unfair stereotypes. The main unfair stereotype that I can think of, and when I went through my resource, is that people tend to believe that if you don't speak English, you might not be from this country. You might be undocumented because you lack understanding the English language. And language begins to have an effect on when it comes to your employment, your education, and even the criminal justice system, such as like racial profiling or anything like that. Like I said before, when it comes to language, it is also tied to race or racism. Someone can easily look at you and just think, oh, they must be this kind of race, so they must be like that, they might not speak English. And like I said, there are many ways that we have seen this in our nation, in our society. I think most importantly that we have able to distinguish this is through our social media. So right next to this slide, I put a video that I have found. It was probably the most recent video I can find when it comes to language discrimination, and this actually happens to be about a substitute teacher having conflicts with a student. So I left the link right there if anyone is interested. I will also be adding the link under the description of the video. But stereotypes do create a negative image when it comes to different languages, and it has involved a bit of a controversy to the topic. So what should we do as educators? The first thing that I believe we should do as educators is be understanding of one's background and culture. We all come from different places, whether it means we come from a different race group, we come from different religion, anything like that. And through this class, we learn about the culture diversity, and we might be able to understand what it means to be an educator and how to bring awareness to this to our future students. And through this, we must be able to provide other methods of teaching. For example, students who have trouble with understanding the English language, we might provide like written instructions or even translated instructions. And we also have to be aware that not only are they the ones with the language barrier, their families also come from difficulties dealing with language. So we must be able to not only support them, but also their families as well, and just create an inclusive school environment that is inviting to anyone from different backgrounds or cultures, especially when it comes to the language barriers that they can deal with. Well, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what language barrier is in education. Please refer to any of the references I provide if you are interested to learn a little bit more about it. I will also add some more links to the bottom of the description. Thank you so much.